Hey Sleepyheads, my name is Winston and I'm here on behalf of Sleepy Circuits today. One of the most frequently asked questions we get about Hypno is, can I make Hypno react to music? So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate some ways you can use the Moog Mother-32, a semi-modular analog synthesizer, to control Hypno and create audiovisual patches. Hypno is equipped with 7 CV inputs and 2 trigger inputs, allowing you to animate your visuals with control signals from eurorack systems and other modular synthesizers. This means that the same LFOs, envelopes, and sequencers you use to modulate audio parameters can also modulate Hypno, generating visuals that change in time alongside your music. Before we get started patching, it's important to note that each of Hypno's CV jacks has an input range of positive 5 to negative 5 volts, so any voltages outside of this range will be clipped. Furthermore, the CV inputs are all summed with the front panel knob or slider position, giving you the ability to offset modulation if you want to control where in that positive 5 to negative 5 volt range the change takes place. Oftentimes, you may also want to scale down your control signals with an attenuator because it's not always necessary for modulation to go all the way from 0 to 100. That's something we'll actually cover in this video later. If you don't own a Mother-32, don't worry because all of these techniques can be applied with most, if not all, modular synthesizers. And for those of you who are still just dipping their toes into modular, follow along and you may learn some cool tricks. Okay, here we go. The easiest way to immediately control Hypno with the Mother-32 is with the keyboard, which I have patched into the shape B frequency. The keyboard outputs on a 1 volt per octave scale, which is to say that every octave higher or lower is plus or minus 1 volt on the output, divided in 12 ways across the keyboard. So shape B frequency is now following the pitch of the synthesizer. We can also sequence these voltages to create musical phrases that have related visual content. To take that one step further, I can patch the gate output from the keyboard, which sends a pulse every time the sequencer triggers the next note, and patch that into the shape B type, which will now change the shape type on every new note. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the envelope, which has individual attack and decay stages, meaning it outputs a rising and then a falling voltage. On the Mother-32, it's normal to the keyboard, so it's automatically triggered every time you play a note. And in this case, I've got it controlling both the filter cutoff of the synthesizer and the master gain of Hypno. I've also got the gate output patched into shape B type for a little extra variety. When we modify the attack or decay, we are seeing changes that mirror the brightness of the sound. This can work nicely with sequences. We'll move on now to the LFO, or low frequency oscillator, which is a continuous cycling voltage with a range of positive 5 to negative 5 volts. When we patch it into the shape frequency, we can see how Hypno reacts as if we were moving the slider from the top to the bottom. We can also use the LFO to modulate something like the filter cutoff. As I mentioned earlier, we don't always want our modulation to go from 0 to 100. Fortunately, the VC mix section can be used as an attenuator, allowing us to tame the visual changes. As you can see, I have the LFO triangle output patched into the VC mix section, and when I turn the knob counterclockwise, it reduces the amplitude of the control signal. This is useful for dialing in more subtle modulation. There's also a square wave output for the LFO, which we can patch into the shape type and produce shape changes on every cycle. For our final tip, we're going to use the Mother-32 to process external audio so we can use it to modulate Hypno. If you've been waiting for beat reactive patching, this is it. The first step is getting music into your modular. For the sake of demonstrating this with as little hardware as possible, I'm just going to use some line level audio from a drum machine. If you aren't familiar with the differences between line levels and eurorack levels, the gist is that line level audio is a lot quieter and will typically require boosting to use in a modular system. But for this example, it will work for our purposes. We'll put a link in the video description if you want to learn more. So far, I've got audio patched into the Mother-32 external input and then patched into Hypno from the VCA output. We're going to set the VCA switch to on so we don't need to trigger the Mother-32 to hear anything. As you can see, this gives us some usable audio reactivity, but it could be better. If we apply the low-pass filter to the audio, we can isolate the low frequencies so Hypno only responds to the kick and bass notes. If you're able to boost line level to modular level in your system, then that would give us a more dramatic result. But there's also a way to get better beat reactive effects without any additional equipment by using music to trigger the envelope. The Mother-32 envelope often won't trigger with line level audio because it's expecting a 5-volt pulse. However, with the VC mix section, we can offset the levels of the music closer to 5 volts so it can successfully trigger the envelope. To do this, I'm patching the filter output into the VC mix 1 input, and then patching the VC mix output into the gate input, which triggers the envelope. The envelope then goes into the Hypno shape frequency. As I bring the VC mix knob closer to 12 o'clock, we start to reach the trigger threshold of the envelope. Now at this point, the envelope is responding to every peak in the audio, so once again we can filter it so that we're only moving on the beat. Now we have an animation source that is directly tied to incoming music. Well, that's all we've got time for today. As you can see now, with its modulation outputs and other features, the Mother-32 makes a great partner for Hypno if you want to create visuals with music. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and more importantly, learned how flexible Hypno can be when working with other synthesizers. Don't forget to comment with your favorite techniques and synthesizers for making audiovisual patches with Hypno. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media, and then join us on the forum to continue this discussion. Thanks for watching!